Welcome to our channel, all friends. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon to stay update for new videos. Thanks. Let's start new video. My mother passed away after giving birth to me, leaving my father and grandmother to raise me. The man who became my life partner had also been through similar circumstances. When I married Kamran, we both deeply felt the absence of our parents at the time of our wedding. That is the moment when a parent's prayers become a guiding light for the journey ahead. As I left for my new home, my heart was filled with apprehension. I was stepping into an unfamiliar place among strangers and had to accept one of them as my own. I had no idea what challenges lay ahead. Kamran was a good man, and we became sincere and devoted life partners. Trust and confidence, which are the foundation of a successful marriage, were granted to us by God. Despite financial hardships, our days passed in peace. Kamran was a graduate, but due to a lack of references, he couldn't secure a good job. After much effort, he became a salesman at a general store. He worked tirelessly all day and would return home exhausted at night. I took great care of him, ensuring he had a warm meal and everything he needed. After resting for a while, he would study privately to enhance his skills and improve his chances of getting a better job. Meanwhile, I spent my entire day managing household chores. On weekends, we would go out for walks, cherishing our little moments together. We dreamt of a prosperous future. A year passed in happiness, but I couldn't conceive. This became a growing concern for both of us. We consulted a gynecologist, and despite all reports being normal, 5 years went by without the joy of having a child. My heart started feeling empty. I became very sensitive and emotional, often shedding tears over small things. I avoided watching advertisements related to children. Kamran never brought up the topic, fearing it might hurt me. He treated me with the utmost care, as if I were a delicate piece of glass. During this time, Kamran remained focused on his career, persistently applying for better jobs. Finally, Allah answered his prayers and he secured a very good position, which also included a company vehicle since fieldwork was required. Life became more comfortable, yet the absence of children felt like a thorn in our hearts. But Allah is merciful. He may delay, but He never denies. He listens to everyone. Finally, after 8 years of marriage, our prayers were answered. I conceived. Kamran was overjoyed and insisted that I take as much rest as possible. At last, the long-awaited day arrived. God blessed us with an incredibly beautiful son, but he was weak at birth. Time passed, and he frequently fell ill, which kept us in constant worry. It is true that we cherish blessings more when they come after immense difficulty. We became even more devoted to our prayers, seeking good health and a long life for our son. After 3 years, he grew strong and healthy, filling our lives with joy. His sweet little words and innocent laughter brought happiness to our hearts. He became the center of our world, our reason for living. Then Allah blessed us once again. I conceived for the second time, and this time we were blessed with a daughter, whom I named Zahida. Both our son Imran and our daughter Zahida bore a striking resemblance to each other. When the children played together, my heart filled with joy, and my eyes found peace. It is true that children are a great blessing. Time passed quickly, and both of them started going to school. With that, household expenses also increased. Kamran thought about starting a side business alongside his job to increase our halal earnings. He partnered with a friend who was involved in trade. One day on a holiday, both of them went to Peshawar to purchase goods. On their way back near Islamabad, a bomb explosion occurred, and both of them lost their lives. The explosion took place in a restricted area at an ammunition depot, and they happened to be passing by at that unfortunate moment. Their car was completely destroyed, and many passers-by lost their lives as well. When we received the news, I fainted. A woman from the neighborhood took care of me and my children. Seeing my condition, the children were also frightened. They were too young to understand the meaning of life and death. When they were told that their father was no longer in this world, they clung to me tightly. No matter how difficult the time, it eventually passes. Had I not shown patience, how could I have raised my innocent children? Just when happiness had stepped into our home, it was snatched away, and autumn became our destiny. Even today, when I remember those days, my heart aches. My children would stay awake, waiting for their father, unable to sleep. I would console them with false hopes, telling them that he had gone to work and would return soon, that he had gone to buy toys for them. But how long could I keep up this illusion? The dead never returned. For days I didn't cook. Women from the neighborhood would bring food for my children. I, however, had lost my will to eat. How could I eat without Kamran? My hunger had vanished. I would force myself to take a few bites just to keep breathing and drink some water to survive. The women around me tried to make me understand, saying, "Why no, come to your senses. You have the responsibility of two young children now. If you continue like this, you will fall ill. Who will take care of your children then? You need to educate them, send them to school, and also worry about earning a livelihood." When I finally regained my senses, I realized there was not a single grain left in the house. I set out to find a job. My only purpose in life now was to protect my children from hardships and make them capable individuals. Eventually, I secured a job as a school teacher, and time went on. Imran and Zahida grew up, becoming educated and responsible. They had learned to bear the burdens of life, but the void left by their father could never be filled. They still remembered him every single day. Imran found a job and took over the household expenses. Zahida completed her bachelor's degree and then pursued a B.A.D., becoming a teacher. They both insisted that I stop working, telling me that I had done enough and it was now time for me to rest. When all financial worries faded, another concern arose: their marriages. I had always endured everything with patience. Even when I was sick, I never let my children see my exhaustion. I went to work no matter what. My children never knew how much I had sacrificed for them. For their better future, I had turned my youth into dust. I had not bought new clothes for years, ensuring that my children ate well while I survived on simple meals. I never let them know about my hardships. I didn't fulfill even my smallest desires so that my children never felt deprived of anything. The hardships of life had aged me before my time. But when I saw my children succeed, my heart filled with peace and contentment. I was a mother, and I was happy with everything I had done. One day, Imran insisted that we move to a new house and leave our old neighborhood. I strongly opposed the idea because I had spent my entire life in that neighborhood. The people there knew my joys and sorrows. They shared in my happiness and grief. However, my son did not agree. Perhaps the new generation has its own way of thinking. Imran did not sell the house but rented it out instead. This way he honored my wish while also fulfilling his own desire. Imran was intelligent, just like his father. He quickly earned promotions and secured a high-ranking position. As a result, he started coming home late. One day I made him swear to tell me the truth about why he was always late and where he spent his time. He hesitantly admitted that he had befriended a girl and spent time with her. He told me they both wanted to get married. I was grateful that he had told me the truth, and I gave him my permission. We arranged his wedding with great celebration, according to his wishes. When Maria became my daughter-in-law, I realized that she was a spoiled child of wealthy but neglectful parents. She had no understanding of how to respect elders or care for younger ones. Her parents had never paid attention to her upbringing. Both of them were busy with their own interests, leaving their children to grow up under the care of servants from childhood to adulthood. Maria was beautiful, but arrogance and pride had consumed her. She barely spoke to me or Zahida with respect. She only spoke warmly to her husband, ignoring the rest of us. These things were deeply hurtful, but I remained silent. Maria's father was a successful businessman. In their family business, both sons and daughters had a share in the profits, which were deposited into Maria's account every month. Perhaps this was the reason for her arrogance. Maria's mother was highly engaged in social activities. From a young age, she had sent her children to boarding schools. When they returned home for vacations, the servants took care of them because their parents were too busy with their own lives to focus on their children's upbringing or teach them the manners necessary for a successful and peaceful life. Maria had grown up in such an environment that she had no sense of relationships. I was deeply troubled by the fact that my daughter-in-law stayed in her room all day and only liked talking to her husband. When neighbors asked to see her, I had to make excuses, saying she is sleeping. They would ask, what kind of daughter-in-law sleeps all day? I needed to find a way to improve the situation at home. The only solution I could think of was to win Maria over with love and affection. Saying anything to my son would only create unnecessary conflict and disturb the household's peace. I started observing Maria's nature. I noticed that she loved animals dearly. She took great care of her pet cat and birds, feeding them and making sure they had clean water. If a beggar came to the door, she would chase them away but would still make sure to help them. From this, I understood that Maria had a good heart but had lacked proper upbringing. When a person understands someone's nature, it becomes easier to win their heart. Deep inside, Maria was craving love. Since I was a teacher, I had experience dealing with both adults and children. I assigned Zahida the task of getting closer to Maria. I told her to take great care of Maria's pet cat and express affection toward her. Maria would first notice Zahida because of this. Maria had even brought her pet cat and parrots from her parents' house. Zahida started taking great care of Maria's pets. Whenever Maria came out of her room to look after them, Zahida would quickly rush to her side, offering to help and showing affection towards her pet cat and birds. Gradually, Maria became comfortable with Zahida and began talking to her in a friendly manner. It is true that one can win hearts with love and sincerity, not with complaints and grievances. Eventually, Zahida's efforts bore fruit, and she succeeded in forming a friendship with her once arrogant sister-in-law. As Zahida grew closer to Maria, she started bringing her out of her room and into my room. Maria began greeting me, and while talking to Zahida, would occasionally address me as well. As the household atmosphere improved, I felt a weight lift off my heart. Zahida adjusted her routine according to Maria's activities. I never complained to my son about Maria's behavior or how she treated us throughout the day. I knew he cared deeply for Maria and was entirely devoted to her happiness. His love for his wife had also caused him to neglect me at times. The sister he once adored, with whom he couldn't eat a single meal without, was now left unnoticed for days. However, every evening after work, he made sure to take Maria out, treating her to meals at nice restaurants. Despite all this, I never played the role of a typical mother-in-law, nor did I allow Zahida to become a jealous sister-in-law. I always advised Zahida, love your sister-in-law. If you treat her with love, you will also retain your brother's affection. Otherwise, you will lose him forever. This is what my experience tells me, and this is how the world works. When a man marries the woman of his choice, if the mother and sister fail to act wisely, they lose their place in his heart. And if they turn into an oppressive mother-in-law and sister-in-law, they destroy their relationship with him completely. I do not want either of these things to happen. My daughter was wise and patient. She followed my advice wholeheartedly. Then a day came when Maria was compelled to accept me as her mother-in-law. She started calling me Amy. She had now adopted a normal, respectful attitude, making it easier for us to communicate with her. We truly became like one family. Maria started informing me whenever she was going out, and sometimes she even invited me to go with her. She had begun to learn the etiquettes of family life. Previously, she never felt the need to tell us where she was going. When I treated her with motherly affection, she began to see me as someone close to her heart. Eventually, she confided in me about the hardships and emotional struggles she had faced in her life. She revealed how, from childhood to adulthood, she had never received attention at home. While she never lacked money, she always longed for love and affection. She admitted that she had never known how to behave with people or understand relationships. Over time, she became so considerate that she would consult me before making any decision and took great care of me. Her focus had shifted toward me. In turn, I felt as though I had regained my lost son. Imran started coming to my room again after work, sitting with me for a while, talking to me, asking about my health, and making sure I had my medicines. He even instructed Zahida to take good care of me and reminded Maria to give me my medicines on time. Whenever they went out to eat, they would bring food back for me as well. Now, Imran was also concerned about Zahida's marriage. At my request, Maria brought this up with him, reminding him of his responsibility toward his sister. Imran spoke to a few friends, and through one of them, we found a good match for Zahida. The groom was pious and handsome, and he was the nephew of one of Imran's close friends. It was a small family consisting of just a mother and son. The groom's name was Saqib. After Zahida's engagement with Saqib, Maria started shopping for her dowry. She often took Zahida along with her. Eventually, Imran honorably married off his sister and gave her everything she desired in her dowry. He ensured that nothing was lacking in his sister's wedding, and all of this was possible due to Maria's support. Maria actively participated in her sister-in-law's wedding preparations. After Zahida's marriage, only Maria and I remained at home. Now she would occasionally come to the kitchen, watch me cook, and take an interest in learning different dishes from me. Although there were servants in the house, a woman's connection with the kitchen and household affairs is what truly defines her role. Gradually, Maria took over all the household responsibilities, allowing me to rest. Now this house belonged to her, while I was merely a guest on the doorstep of old age, having already traveled a long journey in life. I spent most of my time in my bedroom. Maria had completely changed. There was no longer any trace of arrogance or pride in her. She had matured into a wise woman. There was now peace in the house, and Maria had become an organized and capable homemaker. She left no stone unturned in taking care of me. She turned out to be a woman of exceptional character. A little attention and love had completely transformed Imika. She would often insist that I rest while she took care of the entire house, managed the servants, and fulfilled all the responsibilities of hospitality. When women from the neighborhood came to visit, Maria would welcome them warmly and serve them with great respect. I had taught her all these manners. Everyone praised her, saying, "A daughter-in-law should be like Maria." One day my health deteriorated significantly, and Maria cried as if I were her own mother. She had always felt like an outsider in her parents' house, never at peace, but now, in her own home, she felt a deep sense of comfort, especially with me. Even if I caught a slight cold, she would immediately take me to the hospital, worried for my well-being. Zahida was now settled in her new home, but her mother-in-law had a short temper. However, my daughter was patient and had learned from me. She won over her mother-in-law's heart, which led to her husband valuing and respecting her even more. During the days I was unwell, Maria personally cooked special meals for me, ensuring I ate a proper diet. She would say, "Ami, now that Zahida is busy in her own home, I am your daughter. I always pray that nothing ever happens to you. We need you. May you always stay with us." Her words seemed to breathe new life into my ailing body. I would smile at her and shower her with endless prayers. 2 years after their marriage, Allah blessed Maria with 2 children, a son and a daughter. Our family was now complete. Seeing my grandchildren brought me immense joy, and I often thought about how happy Kamran would have been if he were alive to witness his thriving family. Maria remembered her own childhood, which had lacked warmth, so she devoted all her attention to her children. Instead of leaving them in the care of servants, she sacrificed her own comfort to personally take care of them. Imran had always loved Maria, but their love deepened even more after having children. Zahida was initially happy in her married life, but suddenly her husband lost his job and hardships gradually started increasing for her. When she visited us, she seemed quiet and distant. Maria noticed this and asked, "What's wrong, Zahida? Please tell me what's troubling you." At first, Zahida said nothing, but one day after Maria's persistent concern, she finally shared that Saqib had been unemployed for a year, and they were struggling to cover their children's expenses. Her mother-in-law refused to let her work, saying, "I cannot take care of your children." Maria then spoke to Zahida's husband and through her father helped him secure a very good job. This put an end to my daughter's financial struggles, and happiness and peace returned to her home. Zahida was deeply grateful to Maria and would often say, "Ami, the real credit goes to you. You guided us on the right path. If we are blessed with happiness today, it's because of you. Had you encouraged fights and conflicts instead of patience and good manners, we would have been consumed by hatred." She would also say, "Your good upbringing has helped us navigate life's challenges with ease." Listening to her, I would smile and tell her, "It all depends on how a person chooses to live their life. Life is not a bed of roses. If you treat others with kindness and bring happiness to them, even strangers become family. But if you act with jealousy, greed, and hypocrisy, even your own will turn against you."